Thank you very much, Ceann Corlin. Taoiseach, the last while has not been good for the administration of justice. We've had the saga of the whistleblowers in the Public Accounts Committee. We've had the revelation last week by Deputy Mick Wallace, which he put on the Dáil record, of an alleged transcript of a conversation between the Garda whistleblower Maurice McCabe and a confidential Garda recipient Oliver Conley. And now we've had the reported bugging of the Garda Ombudsman's office. And I would put it to you, Taoiseach, that the report in the Sunday Times in relation to that issue is very serious. But all the government seems to have done in response is to develop a frenzy against the Ombudsman's office, essentially turning it around and turning him into a villain as opposed to a victim. And I would put it to you, Taoiseach, the fundamental issue should be, was the office bugged? Who would have been involved in it? And in that context, I ask you, Taoiseach, if you will establish an independent panel of inquiry to determine the truth around that. Taoiseach, in a more serious as well, the revelations contained in a transcript between Oliver Conley, the confidential Garda recipient, and the whistleblower Maurice McCabe is very serious in terms of what that contains, and saps any confidence one could have in our institutions.
There's only one topic per question.
It's the administration of justice. No, as I said it very clearly at the outset.
No.
I made it very clear at the outset. It's been a bad couple of months for the administration of justice, and I'm entitled to raise that topic.
No, you're not entitled. You're entitled to raise an issue. It's entitled to raise an issue.
I'm raising the issue. It's about the administration of justice.
So you can't go into two issues.
It's the administration of justice, or the maladministration of justice. And the situation is very serious.
You know the rules as well as I
want to put it to the Taoiseach that basically the confidential recipient said to the whistleblower that if stuff was to get out into the public, the print media, it must only come with what happens in the courtroom. I'll tell you something, Maurice, and this is just personal advice to you. If Shatter thinks you're screwing him, you're finished. And it goes on. Forget about it. I mean, he's dealing with a lot of stuff, the minister is. This is
I don't think you heard me, Deputy. I'm only dealing with...
And he says, if Shatter thinks it's you, if he thinks or is told by the Commissioner or the Gardaí, here's this guy again trying another route to put pressure,
thank you,
he'll go after you.
Overtime.
And the whistleblower says, you mean Alan Shatter? Yeah, I mean he will. And it goes much on. And why is he saying that, Taoiseach? He's essentially saying to the whistleblower, the Minister for Justice will come after the whistleblower if the whistleblower gives whatever material he has into the public media and into the public domain.
Thank you.
Now, Taoiseach, the Minister for Justice appointed that confidential recipient. Do you think that's appropriate in the context of a conversation between a whistleblower and a confidential Garda recipient? There has been no denial since this was aired on the record of this House for a number of days last week. I now have seen the transcript myself, and I've read it. It is extremely disturbing, Taoiseach.
Thank you.
It's extremely sinister.
Please resume your seat.
And it saps any confidence one could have now in terms of how justice has been administered. Are we serious? What kind of a democracy are we talking about?
Sorry, Deputy, we're way over time.
Someone can say a minister will go after a whistleblower.
Sorry, Taoiseach, before you respond, I'd ask that through the Chief Whip's office, if you clarify clearly about leaders' questions. My understanding is a topic is raised. That's my understanding. But until that's cleared up, I'd leave it to yourself.
You've been very clear on this. This is an important question that Deputy Martin has raised about the Garda Síochána Ombudsman's Commission. This is an essential and fundamental entity of our democratic system, and it is very important that the people of the country have absolute confidence and faith in the integrity and the credibility of the Garda Ombudsman's Commission office, no more than it's an important and fundamental element of our democracy that there be citizens' confidence in the Garda Síochána. Now, I note that the GSOC made a statement last night following the meeting between the Chairman of the Commission and the Minister for Justice. And that statement said quite clearly that the Garda Ombudsman's, the GSOC was satisfied that its databases were not compromised. It also made it clear its view in respect of no evidence whatsoever of Garda misconduct. And finally, it explained to the Minister directly why it was not reported to the Minister for Justice by the Commission and expressed regret for that decision. Now, clearly, the Garda Commissioner has responded with a number of questions that need to be answered from his perspective by the GSOC. The government were briefed this morning by the Minister for Justice, arising from his discussions with the GSOC yesterday. As I said, the House is now aware of the statement issued by the GSOC, in which they outlined that they carried out an investigation into 3 technical and electronic anomalies which had been identified in a security sweep, which had not been triggered by any particular incident, but which was part of a process of security sweeps, and that he also briefed the government this morning in respect of the statement issued by the Garda Commissioner, in which he expressed concern that any implication of Garda involvement in the matter. So it's important to state that in their statement, GSOC made it perfectly clear that there was no evidence of Garda misconduct. Indeed, the Minister for Justice and Equality has been advised and briefed the Cabinet on this morning. They concluded that there was no definitive evidence of unauthorised either technical or electronic surveillance of their offices. Now, I think because, thank you. I think because it's this is an issue of real importance and an issue about confidence of the people in 2 very important institutions, both the GSOC, which was set up for the purpose of having oversight in respect of the Gardaí and the Garda Síochána themselves. So I mean, I'm anxious, Deputy Martin, to understand that deputies are anxious to have as much information as is possible about the concerns that arose. And for that reason, government instructed the Chief Whip this morning that after the order of business concludes here, the Minister for Justice will make a statement to the House with opportunities for people to respond to that. And I note from the Oireachtas Committee on Petitions and Oversight that GSOC themselves will attend in public session at the committee tomorrow. I think it's important, Deputy Martin, that there be clarity leading to confidence about the institution of the GSOC, and I do hope that when the GSOC attend there tomorrow, that they will be in a position to provide that clarity.
Thank you.
It's very necessary for the people of the country that happen. So that's, if you like, the Public Oversight and Petitions Committee was one Ceann that was set up when government came into office, and it has an opportunity tomorrow in engaging with the GSOC directly to have that confidence and that clarity provided so that our people are fully satisfied of the integrity of the office, and the GSOC themselves express themselves fully satisfied in that regard. And I would say from a government perspective here that that's fundamentally important, and that if GSOC themselves require any facility to enable them to come to that conclusion, government will provide that. I might say for your information, that the government are not entitled to the report that was provided to GSOC by the company that they chose. They are an independent body, but the Minister for Justice has requested that the report will be supplied to him.
Thank you. Deputy Martin.
I find the Taoiseach's response extraordinary. I asked a very straightforward question in relation to that matter. Would you establish an independent panel of inquiry? You refused to answer it. He went on a long rigmarole. I also asked you, Taoiseach, and I made it very clear at the outset of my question, about confidence in the administration of justice.
No, but you can make it very clear. My job is to adhere to the rules of the House, and you're entitled to raise an issue. You know, you can raise that other issue tomorrow if you so wish. But you can't. It's not the same issue.
Sorry, the relationship between the Ombudsman's office, the Garda... Sure, the Minister himself has made the relationship between the Garda Ombudsman's office and the Garda Confidential
I'm ruling on it anyway.
recipient. The Minister himself in the House has made that connection. It is outrageous that an attempt should be made to suppress a legitimate issue that I've raised that goes to the very core of the administration of justice in this country, and the Taoiseach hadn't the bottle to answer the question that I put to him. It's not dramatic. I don't normally do this.
You're here a long time.
But this matter is on the record. I am here a long time, I've never seen a leader of the opposition interrupted so much and an attempt to interrupt so much in any time since leaders' questions came in. I've never seen that type of intervention.
Well, I've never seen that behaviour.
It's unprecedented how you come into protect certain situations and you make it clear to the Taoiseach. You made it clear to the Taoiseach that he dare not reply to a very fundamental question. There was no attempt, Taoiseach, and if you could allow me to finish, I'd finish, but you don't. And I want a simple answer. It's on the record of this House since last Thursday that a whistleblower was told by the Garda confidential recipient that the Minister for Justice will go after you if this material goes into the public domain. I can think of nothing more important.
Well, then raise it.
In the public, I am raising it, but you're trying to stop me raising it, and you're trying to stop the Taoiseach from answering it.
I'm not trying to.
It's a very simple question. Is the Taoiseach aware of it? Has the Taoiseach sought confirmation from the Minister? Is it because? And I don't want to cast any aspersions on the individual concerned, because I think because the whistleblower will say
you're over time.
The whistleblower will say that he told him the truth, because the whistleblower will say that the Minister did come after him. That's what the whistleblower will say.
Well, you can raise that
and
tomorrow.
That Oliver Connolly was correct. Oliver Connolly was close to the Minister. He was a good supporter.
Thank you. Please.
As he's entitled to be. But he was appointed to a very sensitive office.
Thank you.
And a very core issue has been raised in relation to it in this House. And the silence from the government benches, silence from the Minister. I'm entitled to ask the question. Is the Taoiseach satisfied with that in terms of public confidence in the institutions that we've established, in terms of Garda oversight, and in terms of facilitating whistleblowers to come to the table with stuff that they want to talk about?
Thank you.
Instead of being told, if you do it this way, they'll come after you.
Taoiseach?
I'm of the view, and it's a view shared by everybody else, that we require clarity here in respect of the GSOC and the integrity of that office, which has oversight responsibility in respect of An Garda Síochána. I'm also well aware of the importance of having integrity and confidence in the Garda Síochána in respect of our citizens. This is an issue that was to the forefront of much discussion over the last weekend, arising from the revelations in the Sunday newspaper about the consequences and the aftermath of an investigation and a security sweep being carried out by GSOC. The GSOC chairman met with the Minister yesterday. The GSOC issued a formal statement.
Sorry, please.
The GSOC attend tomorrow in public forum at the Committee on Oversight and Petitions. You're asking me today to have a public inquiry into this. Don't you think it's appropriate that the GSOC should come in before the committee and answer questions about clarity and clarification to the members of the House? Maybe you don't want that. So you're asking me to appoint a public inquiry today when an Oireachtas committee is perfectly legitimately entitled, and the GSOC have responded publicly to the effect that they will attend there. Now, clearly, the statement yesterday from the Garda Commissioner requires an answer to four issues. I would expect that when the GSOC attend informal session at a public committee, that clarity will be provided. It's very necessary, Deputy Martin, that the integrity and confidence of the people be had in the official commission that has oversight for An Garda Síochána. The GSOC indicated yesterday that they found no evidence of electronic bugging, and that the Gardaí were not involved in any way in a matter of misconduct. So I would expect that the least that you could do is to allow for the GSOC, which is an independent commission, which is independent in the way it does its business of its oversight, independent of the government, should be allowed to come in before the Oireachtas Committee and make its position very clear. We want to see confidence upheld in the integrity of the way the GSOC is entitled to do its business, and also in respect of the integrity of the running of the Garda Síochána. These are two very important pillars of our democratic system.
Thank you.
In respect of the other matter that you mentioned, if you want to have an answer from the Minister for Justice, put down a topical issue or a priority question to him.
Deputy Adams. Thank you.
Well, Taoiseach, I agree with you that we need clarity, but you have not been clear. And there is very, very deep concern at reports that the Garda Síochána Ombudsman Office was targeted, that's the report, as part of a sophisticated surveillance operation, allegedly using high-level technology. Now, your response to this yesterday was very disappointing, as was the government's response to the whistleblower allegations. And the important question that people have in relation to this current scandal is, was the GSOC bugged? And if so, by whom? And there's no point in blaming the Garda Ombudsman Office as you did yesterday. That's just not good enough, Taoiseach. And there clearly is a breakdown of trust between that office, between the Garda Commissioner and the Minister of Justice. But the reality is that the Ombudsman Office has been undermined since it was established, and its work has been frustrated, particularly during the public interest investigation into the handling of informers arising from the Kieran Boylan affair. And I agree with you also that citizens need to trust public agencies and to know that they're in a position to carry out their work without being compromised, particularly a body, an agency which has the onerous responsibility of Garda oversight. So I put the questions again, and that's what people out there are talking about. Was the GSOC bugged? And if so, who did it? Now, you weren't clear about that, so it begs the question then, given the absence of trust between these three important entities, the GSOC, the Garda Commissioner, and incidentally, there's no oversight by the GSOC of the Garda Commissioner. And given the breakdown of trust with the Minister of Justice, isn't it clear that an independent inquiry would resolve these matters in an urgent way, and that would then deal with the issue of public confidence that you have expressed a concern about?
Thank you. Taoiseach.
Thank you, Deputy Adams. You make the point about newspaper reports that the Garda Ombudsman's Office was the subject of sophisticated surveillance. The report was published on the 9th of February in the Sunday newspaper, claiming that the GSOC had been the subject of unlawful surveillance of a sophisticated nature. The Minister received a briefing on this yesterday by the Chairman of the GSOC. The Chairman of the GSOC said publicly that he regretted that the GSOC had made a difficult decision not to inform the Minister, as is required under the law in Section 80, subsection 5 of the 2005 Garda Síochána Act. The Chairman himself made that perfectly clear. The issue arose following a sweep which was conducted in September of last year at the GSOC's offices. That sweep was not dictated by any particular issue, but was part of a process of having a regular sweep on an office like that. And the Minister for Justice, as you're aware, was informed yesterday that the GSOC, following the sweep and the investigation by the company that they chose to do that, concluded that no definitive evidence of unauthorised technical or electronic surveillance of their office was found. So if you ask me, was the office bugged? What I'm saying to you in the words of the GSOC, that they found, following the investigation, no evidence of sophisticated evidence of unauthorised technical or electronic surveillance of their office was found. I think that's pretty clear. Now, it's important, Deputy Adams, and you're well aware of this yourself, that the citizens of the country need to have confidence in the integrity of the GSOC, and that's why the Minister for Justice will make a statement here on a more detailed way, dealing with the technical issues that were raised in the investigation and of the discussions that he had with the chairman of the GSOC yesterday. And as he indicated to Deputy Martin, the GSOC are before the Committee on Petitions and Oversight tomorrow in public forum, and I would expect that the matters that need to be addressed insofar as giving absolute clarity about this fundamentally important office is concerned will be given. I think that's in the interest of everybody. Deputy Martin was looking for a public inquiry tomorrow. I think it's important that the GSOC, which has responsibility for oversight of the Gardaí, is fully entitled to give its report and to give its engagement with the Oireachtas Commission. I might point out for you as well, Deputy Adams, the government do not have the report that was provided for the GSOC by the company who carried out the investigation. The government are not entitled to that report because the GSOC is independent, but the Minister for Justice has requested the report, and obviously, if that's provided, be able to be able to deal with the facts as presented to GSOC by the company.
Deputy Adams.
Well, taoiseach, Sinn Féin also supports the call for a fully independent inquiry without delay into these matters. And part of the difficulty is this. You see, yesterday, and I challenged you just in my first question, you inaccurately quoted Section 80, subsection 5 of the Garda Síochána Act, and you did it again here. See, whatever about whether the Ombudsman was right or wrong to report it to the Minister, he is not entitled to. He's not bound to. It says, and I quote, the Ombudsman Commission may make any other reports that it considers appropriate for drawing to the Minister's attention matters that have come to its notice. So he may. The Ombudsman Office may or may not. Now, the question then is, obviously, he didn't do it. So why didn't he do it? And that's why we need an independent element to this to look at all of these issues. You quoted what could be described as a Jesuitical statement about whether the office was or was not bugged. Was it found that an unauthorised system was in place which would have left the GSOC offices vulnerable to bugging? Because I've read all of these reports on this, and it depends just exactly on how you interpret it. They were concerned enough to bring in someone from outside the state to look at this. They were concerned enough at the outcome of that not to report it to the Commissioner or to the Minister. Now, the Ombudsman Commission is appointed by the President, and that's quite rightly so. But following, and if you missed this, Taoiseach, you missed it all, following on the penalty points debacle, the whistleblowers controversy, doesn't this current scandal highlight the worrying level of distrust between the GSOC, the Garda Commissioner, and the Minister for Justice? So I come back and ask, just straight out, will the government establish? Now, if you're not going to do it, just tell us, say no. But will the government, why not? You promised transparency in how the government does its business. You said it would be done differently from your predecessors. So why don't you just put in place a fully independent inquiry to expeditiously look at these matters and then report back to the Oireachtas?
Thank you. Taoiseach.
See, Deputy Adams, I respect absolutely GSOC, and I think it's important that the GSOC would have every opportunity to state for the record in public session and that the Chairman and the members of the Board of the Commission are absolutely satisfied with the independence and the integrity of the way that they are entitled to do their business. Now, I can't direct them to do that. It's important that, that government here and that the people understand the relationship between the Gardaí on the one hand and the GSOC, which is oversight for Gardaí on the other. So I think without any talk of independent inquiries, it's important for the GSOC, when it goes before the Oireachtas Committee, to be able to outline the degree of satisfaction that it has in the running of its own affairs. Now, in their own statement yesterday, they say GSOC is satisfied that its databases were not compromised. Were not compromised. And since the investigation concluded, they say, we've been working to review and to enhance our security systems in the light of what the investigation revealed. The Commission decided to discontinue the investigation on the basis that no further action was necessary or reasonably practicable. So, in the sense, that's the statement from the GSOC. And obviously, the matters referred to by the deputy, the section that I referred to and that you quoted from there means that the GSOC are entitled of their own initiative to report. They're entitled to report of their own initiative under the law to the Minister for Justice of the day. And in their statement yesterday, they say, we did not wish to point fingers unnecessarily, and we did not believe that widespread reporting would be conducive to public confidence. We took the decision not to report in good faith, and we regret that now. And this was communicated to the Minister for Justice and Equality by the Chairman. That is the independent body with oversight responsibility for the Gardaí, and that's their statement. They say that there was no evidence of its databases being compromised, that they made the decision not to report in good faith. They regret that decision, and they communicated that to the Minister for Justice. So the balance between the Gardaí and the GSOC is very important here, and I do hope that the clarity that is necessary can be furnished at the open hearings of the Oireachtas Commission report tomorrow. So, from that point of view, the Minister for Justice will speak in some further detail after the order of business today, Councillor.
Thank you.